The church had never been so full. White lilies lined the aisle, soft. Piano music echoed through the sanctuary. Friends and family smiled as they waited for the bride. At the altar, Michael adjusted his tie for the third time. His hands trembled, not because he was afraid, but because he couldn't wait to marry the woman he had loved for 6 years. The doors remained closed. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The whispers began. Something wasn't right. Suddenly, the maid of honor rushed inside. Tears streamed down her face. She walked straight toward the pastor, whispered something into his ear. The pastor slowly closed his eyes. Then, he turned toward Michael. There was sorrow in his voice. "She's gone." The church fell silent. Michael didn't move. He kept staring at the entrance, still believing she would walk through those doors. She never did. 7 years earlier, she left him at the altar. 7 years later, she never expected to see him again. It was one of those perfect spring mornings, the kind of morning that made the entire town feel alive. Sunlight poured through the stained glass windows of the small country church. Children ran across the front lawn. Neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles. And inside the church, a young woman carefully arranged fresh white lilies beside the altar. Her name was Emily. She had long, naturally curly blonde hair that shimmered beneath the morning light. Her bright blue eyes reflected both kindness and innocence. Everyone in town knew her, not because she sought attention, but because she always seemed to notice the people everyone else overlooked. She helped the elderly carry groceries. She volunteered every Saturday. She never left church before making sure every chair was back in its place. Her heart was as beautiful as her smile. As she reached to place another bouquet of flowers on the altar, one of the glass vases slipped from her hands. It fell toward the floor. Before it could shatter, someone caught it. Emily looked up. Standing in front of her was a young man she had never seen before. Tall, kind eyes, dark brown hair, a warm smile that instantly made people feel comfortable. He handed the vase back to her. "I think this belongs to you." Emily laughed softly. "I almost ruined the whole Sunday service." He smiled. "Looks like God sent me at the right time." She couldn't help smiling back. "I'm Emily." "Michael." They stood there for a moment, neither of them realizing that a simple broken vase had just changed 2 lives forever. The following Sunday, Michael came back, not because he needed to, because he hoped to see Emily again. He found her outside the church helping an elderly woman carry several heavy bags to her car. Without saying a word, he picked up the remaining bags. Emily smiled. "You keep showing up at exactly the right moment." Michael laughed. "Maybe that's becoming a habit." Week after week, they found reasons to stay a little longer after every church service. Sometimes they talked beneath the old oak tree behind the church. Sometimes they shared coffee at the small cafe across the street. Sometimes they simply sat together in silence, watching the sunset. With Michael, Emily felt safe. She never needed to pretend, never needed to impress anyone. He loved listening more than talking. Whenever she spoke, he gave her his full attention, and somehow that made her feel seen. Months became years. Their love grew quietly, without drama, without games, without pretending to be someone they weren't. They served together at church, visited nursing homes, prepared meals for families in need. Every Christmas, they organized gifts for children whose parents couldn't afford presents. The entire town admired them. Older couples often smiled when they saw them together. They remind me of what love is supposed to look like. Michael never forgot birthdays. He always remembered Emily's favorite flowers. Every Friday evening, he surprised her with something small. Sometimes a single daisy, sometimes homemade cookies, sometimes simply a handwritten note hidden inside her Bible. One afternoon, while walking through a nearby park, Emily asked, "Do you think love really lasts forever?" Michael looked at her for a moment before answering. "I think love is a choice. Feelings come and go. But every morning, you wake up and choose the same person again." Emily smiled. "I like that. So do I." But there was something Michael didn't know. A quiet fear lived inside Emily, one she had carried since childhood, when she was 9 years old. She had hidden behind her bedroom door, listening to her parents scream at each other, broken dishes, slamming doors, tears, silence. Then, her father picked up his suitcase. Before leaving, He looked at his little daughter and said words that stayed with her forever. Don't ever believe in forever. The front door closed. He never came back. From that day on, Emily promised herself she would never become the reason someone else's heart was broken, ironically. That promise slowly became her greatest fear as the years passed. The closer she came to marriage, the louder those old memories became. What if I become like my parents? What if one day Michael regrets choosing me? What if I destroy the best thing that's ever happened to me? She never shared those thoughts. Not with her mother, not with Pastor Samuel, not even with Michael. She smiled, she laughed, she planned their future. But every night, she quietly prayed the same prayer. God, please don't let me hurt him. 6 years after the day they first met, Michael invited Emily to walk with him behind the church. The old oak tree still stood there, exactly where they had shared their very first conversation. He stopped beneath its branches. His hands trembled. He reached into his jacket pocket. Emily looked at him, already smiling. Michael slowly knelt on one knee. I've loved you since the day you almost dropped that vase. Emily laughed through happy tears. You still remember that? I'll remember it for the rest of my life. He opened a small wooden ring box. Inside was a beautiful ring, simple, elegant. Perfect, Emily. You've become my best friend, my greatest blessing, my favorite hello, and the hardest goodbye whenever we have to leave each other. I don't promise a perfect life. I don't promise we'll never face difficult days. But I promise this. I will choose you every morning for the rest of my life. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Emily's face. She nodded before she could even speak. Finally, she whispered, yes, 1,000 times, yes, as Michael placed the ring on her finger. The church bells began ringing in the distance. Neither of them noticed. They only saw each other. Neither of them knew that the greatest test of their love had not yet begun. The engagement brought joy to the entire town. When Pastor Samuel announced the news after Sunday service, the church erupted in applause. Everyone had expected it. Everyone had been waiting for that moment. Michael and Emily weren't just a couple. They were the couple everyone believed would grow old together. For weeks, their lives became a beautiful whirlwind of wedding plans. Emily searched through bridal magazines with her mother. She tried on dresses that made her laugh. Some were too big. Some were too plain. Some made her feel like a princess. Her best friend Sarah stood beside her every step of the way. You look beautiful in every single one, Emily laughed. You're supposed to say that. I'm saying it because it's true. Across town, Michael was busy preparing their future. Every evening after work, he drove to the little house they had recently purchased. It wasn't large. The roof needed repairs. The kitchen cabinets were old. The backyard was overgrown. But every time he walked through the front door, he smiled because all he could imagine was Emily living there beside him. One Saturday morning, he surprised her. He handed her a small silver key. Emily looked at him, confused. What's this? Our home. She stared at him. You bought it? We bought it. He smiled. I've been fixing it every evening after work. You've been doing all of this alone? I wanted to surprise you. Emily wrapped her arms around him for a long moment. Neither of them spoke. She looked around the little house. The walls still needed paint. The floors creaked with every step. The windows were old, but to her, it looked perfect. This is where we'll build our family, Michael nodded. And one day, our children will run through this backyard. Emily smiled. I've already thought about names. Michael laughed. You already have? What if it's a girl? He grinned. You first. Lily. He smiled. I love it. And if it's a boy? Michael looked toward the empty backyard. Samuel. Emily looked at him. After Pastor Samuel? He taught me what a godly man looks like. Emily squeezed his hand. I think he'd cry if he knew. So would I. That afternoon, they painted the baby's future bedroom. Even though there wasn't a baby yet, they laughed every time one of them accidentally got paint on the other. Emily dipped her finger into the blue paint and touched Michael's nose. He stared at her dramatically. Oh, you started a war, she laughed. Before she could run, he gently placed a streak of white paint across her cheek. Soon, the entire room echoed with laughter when they finally collapsed onto the wooden floor. Covered in paint, Michael looked at her. I wish I could freeze this moment forever, Emily smiled. So do I. That evening, they stopped by the grocery store. Money was still tight. Instead of going to an expensive restaurant, they bought fresh vegetables, pasta, a loaf of warm bread, and a small chocolate cake. Back home, they cooked dinner together. Michael chopped vegetables while Emily stirred the sauce. Soft music played from an old radio sitting on the kitchen counter. Michael held out his hand. "Dance with me." Emily looked at the pot on the stove. "Dinner will burn." "So what?" She laughed. "You've become very irresponsible. I've become very much in love." She shook her head, then took his hand right there, in the middle of their tiny kitchen. They danced, barefoot, laughing, completely unaware of the world outside. The pasta boiled over. The sauce nearly burned. Neither of them cared. Michael gently twirled Emily beneath the warm kitchen light. She laughed harder than she had in weeks. "I think dinner is ruined." Michael smiled. "I'd ruin dinner every night, if it meant dancing with you." Emily rested her forehead against his. "I love you," he whispered. "I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt how much." But later that night, everything changed. Michael had already fallen asleep. Emily quietly walked into the living room. The wedding invitations lay neatly stacked on the coffee table. She picked one up, slowly traced her finger across their names. Michael Carter, Emily Brooks. She smiled. Then, her smile disappeared. Her breathing became faster. Her hands began to shake. The room suddenly felt smaller. She imagined herself walking down the aisle, standing before everyone, making promises. Promises her parents once made. Promises they couldn't keep. The memories came rushing back. Her father's angry voice, her mother's tears, the slamming door, the empty house. She closed her eyes. What if? What if I become them? She placed both hands over her face, trying to calm herself, trying to breathe. From the bedroom, Michael softly called her name. "Emily!" She quickly wiped away her tears. "I'm coming." She forced a smile before walking back into the room. Michael never noticed she'd been crying. But that night, for the first time, Emily wondered something she had never dared to ask herself before. What if the greatest act of love was letting him go before she could hurt him? Chapter 3. The day she ran. The wedding day arrived beneath a sky so blue it almost didn't seem real. Sunlight poured through the stained glass windows of the little church. Fresh white lilies lined the aisle. Soft piano music filled the sanctuary. Friends and family gathered early, smiling as they embraced one another. Everyone said the same thing. "This is going to be the most beautiful wedding our town has ever seen." Outside, Michael stood beside Pastor Samuel near the altar. He adjusted his tie for what felt like the 100th time. His best man laughed. "Nervous?" Michael smiled. "A little. You've waited 6 years for this day." "I know. I still can't believe it's finally here." Pastor Samuel placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Love is one of God's greatest gifts. You've cared for it well." Michael smiled. "I just hope I spend the rest of my life loving her the way she deserves." The church doors remained closed. The ceremony would begin in just a few minutes, across town, inside a quiet bridal suite. Emily stood in front of a large mirror. She looked breathtaking. Her white dress fit perfectly. Her long blonde curls rested softly over her shoulders. A delicate veil completed everything. Her mother stepped behind her. Tears filled her eyes. "You look beautiful." Emily smiled. "Thank you." Her mother carefully adjusted the veil. "Your father would have." She stopped speaking. The silence hurt more than the unfinished sentence. Emily looked down. "I know." A knock came at the door. Sarah entered with excitement. "The church is full. Everyone is waiting." She smiled. "It's time." Emily nodded, but as soon as Sarah left the room, her smile disappeared. She looked at herself in the mirror again. For several long seconds, she couldn't breathe. The room suddenly felt smaller. The walls seemed to close in around her. She grabbed the edge of the dressing table, trying to steady herself. Her heartbeat became louder, faster, stronger. Her father's voice echoed inside her mind. "Marriage never lasts. Everyone leaves eventually. Don't believe in forever." Emily closed her eyes. "No, not today." She tried taking a deep breath. It didn't help. Her hands began trembling uncontrollably. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered to herself, "What if I ruin his life? What if I become my mother? What if one day he looks at me with regret?" She fell to her knees, unable to stop crying. Outside, the wedding coordinator smiled. "The bride will be here any minute." Guests stood as the music began. Michael looked toward the church doors. His heart raced with excitement. This was the happiest day of his life. He imagined seeing Emily walking toward him. He imagined taking her hand, hearing her vows, beginning forever. He smiled, completely unaware that everything was about to change. Back inside the bridal suite, Emily stood again. Slowly, she removed her veil, looked at it for a long moment, then placed it gently on the chair. Her phone vibrated. It was Michael. "I can't wait to see you." She stared at the message. Fresh tears rolled down her face. She typed, deleted it, typed again, deleted it once more. Finally, she wrote only 2 words, "I'm sorry." She never pressed send. Instead, she turned off the phone, picked up her car keys, walked out the back door, and drove away. Inside the church, the music ended. Guests looked toward the entrance. Nothing. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Whispers filled the room. Michael looked at the wedding coordinator. She smiled nervously. "I'm sure there's a small delay." Another 5 minutes passed. The smile disappeared from her face. Sarah suddenly rushed into the church. She was crying. Everyone turned toward her. She walked directly to Pastor Samuel, whispered something into his ear. The pastor slowly closed his eyes. His shoulders fell. He turned toward Michael. There were tears in his eyes. Michael's smile faded. "What happened?" No one answered. "What happened?" Sarah covered her mouth as she cried. Finally, she forced herself to speak. "Emily, she's gone." Michael stared at her, as if he hadn't understood. "What do you mean? She's gone." "No, there must be some mistake. Where is she?" Nobody answered. The church had become completely silent. Michael looked toward the entrance one more time, still believing, still hoping that she would walk through those doors. She never did. Hours later, the church was empty. Flowers still decorated the altar. Candles continued burning. Rows of untouched chairs stood in complete silence. Michael remained alone, still wearing his suit, still holding the wedding ring. Pastor Samuel quietly sat beside him for several minutes. Neither of them spoke. Finally, Michael whispered, "I don't understand. I thought she loved me." Pastor Samuel looked at him with compassion. "I believe she does." Michael looked confused. "Then why didn't she come?" The pastor lowered his eyes. "Sometimes, the deepest wounds are the ones nobody else can see." Michael stared at the empty church. Tears finally began falling, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a heart breaking without making a sound. Outside, the church bells rang exactly as they had been scheduled, celebrating a wedding that never happened. End of chapter 3. She left him at the altar. 7 years later, she never expected to see him again. Chapter 1. A love that felt like home. It was one of those perfect spring mornings, the kind of morning that made the entire town feel alive. Sunlight poured through the stained glass windows of the small country church. Children ran across the front lawn. Neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles. And inside the church, a young woman carefully arranged fresh white lilies beside the altar. Her name was Emily. She had long, naturally curly blonde hair that shimmered beneath the morning light. Her bright blue eyes reflected both kindness and innocence. Everyone in town knew her, not because she sought attention, but because she always seemed to notice the people everyone else overlooked. She helped the elderly carry groceries. She volunteered every Saturday. She never left church before making sure every chair was back in its place. Her heart was as beautiful as her smile. As she reached to place another bouquet of flowers on the altar, one of the glass vases slipped from her hands. It fell toward the floor. Before it could shatter, someone caught it. Emily looked up. Standing in front of her was a young man she had never seen before. tall, kind eyes, dark brown hair, a warm smile that instantly made people feel comfortable. He handed the vase back to her. "I think this belongs to you," Emily laughed softly. "I almost ruined the whole Sunday service." He smiled. "Looks like God sent me at the right time." She couldn't help smiling back. "I'm Emily, Michael." They stood there for a moment, neither of them realizing that a simple broken vase had just changed two lives forever. The following Sunday, Michael came back, not because he needed to, because he hoped to see Emily again. He found her outside the church helping an elderly woman carry several heavy bags to her car. Without saying a word, he picked up the remaining bags. Emily smiled. "You keep showing up at exactly the right moment." Michael laughed. Maybe that's becoming a habit. Week after week, they found reasons to stay a little longer after every church service. Sometimes they talked beneath the old oak tree behind the church. Sometimes they shared coffee at the small cafe across the street. Sometimes they simply sat together in silence, watching the sunset with Michael. Emily felt safe. She never needed to pretend, never needed to impress anyone. He loved listening more than talking. Whenever she spoke, he gave her his full attention. And somehow, that made her feel seen. Months became years. Their love grew quietly, without drama, without games, without pretending to be someone they weren't. They served together at church, visited nursing homes, prepared meals for families in need. Every Christmas, they organized gifts for children whose parents couldn't afford presents. The entire town admired them. Older couples often smiled when they saw them together. "They remind me of what love is supposed to look like." Michael never forgot birthdays. He always remembered Emily's favorite flowers. Every Friday evening, he surprised her with something small, sometimes a single daisy, sometimes homemade cookies, sometimes simply a handwritten note hidden inside her Bible. One afternoon, while walking through a nearby park, Emily asked, "Do you think love really lasts forever?" Michael looked at her for a moment before answering. "I think love is a choice. Feelings come and go. But every morning, you wake up and choose the same person again." Emily smiled. "I like that. So do I." But there was something Michael didn't know. A quiet fear lived inside Emily, one she had carried since childhood, when she was 9 years old. She had hidden behind her bedroom door, listening to her parents scream at each other. Broken dishes, slamming doors, tears, silence. Then, her father picked up his suitcase. Before leaving, he looked at his little daughter and said words that stayed with her forever. "Don't ever believe in forever." The front door closed. He never came back. From that day on, Emily promised herself she would never become the reason someone else's heart was broken. Ironically, that promise slowly became her greatest fear. As the years passed, the closer she came to marriage, the louder those old memories became. What if I become like my parents? What if one day Michael regrets choosing me? What if I destroy the best thing that's ever happened to me? She never shared those thoughts, not with her mother, not with Pastor Samuel, not even with Michael. She smiled, she laughed, she planned their future, but every night, she quietly prayed the same prayer. "God, please don't let me hurt him." 6 years after the day they first met, Michael invited Emily to walk with him behind the church. The old oak tree still stood there, exactly where they had shared their very first conversation. He stopped beneath its branches. His hands trembled. He reached into his jacket pocket. Emily looked at him, already smiling. Michael slowly knelt on one knee. "I've loved you since the day you almost dropped that vase." Emily laughed through happy tears. "You still remember that? I'll remember it for the rest of my life." He opened a small wooden ring box. Inside was a beautiful ring. Simple, elegant. "Perfect, Emily. You've become my best friend, my greatest blessing, my favorite hello, and the hardest goodbye whenever we have to leave each other. I don't promise a perfect life. I don't promise we'll never face difficult days. But I promise this. I will choose you every morning for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Emily's face. She nodded before she could even speak. "Finally," she whispered, "yes, 1,000 times yes," as Michael placed the ring on her finger. The church bells began ringing in the distance. Neither of them noticed. They only saw each other. Neither of them knew. that the greatest test of their love had not yet begun. Chapter 5. Learning to Trust. Again, Emily couldn't stop thinking about that afternoon. She had imagined that moment for 7 years. She expected anger, coldness, silence instead. Michael had welcomed her with kindness. That made everything even harder. A few days later, she returned to the cafe. This time, not because her mother wanted cinnamon rolls, because she wanted to see him again. The little bell above the door rang. Michael looked up. A warm smile appeared on his face. "I was wondering if you'd come back." Emily smiled nervously. "I almost didn't. I'm glad you did." He handed her a cup of coffee before she even ordered. "The usual," she laughed softly. "You still remember?" "I remember a lot of things." For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It felt familiar, like two people remembering who they used to be. Over the next several weeks, Emily became a regular customer. Sometimes they talked for only 5 minutes. Sometimes, the conversations lasted until closing time. They laughed about old memories, about church picnics, about the tiny house they had once dreamed of sharing. One evening, as Michael locked the cafe door, he looked at her. "Would you like to take a walk?" She nodded. They walked toward the old park where they had spent countless evenings years before. Nothing had changed. The same wooden benches, the same lake, the same old oak trees. Only they had changed. They sat together in silence. Finally, Emily spoke. "I owe you the truth." Michael quietly looked at her. She took a deep breath. "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I was terrified." Michael frowned slightly. "I don't understand." Emily looked down at her hands. "My father convinced me that every marriage ends the same way. I believed that one day you would wake up and regret marrying me." Tears rolled down her face. "I thought, if I left first, I could save you from a lifetime of disappointment." Michael stared at her, speechless. She continued. "The closer the wedding came, the louder those voices became. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I wasn't running away from you. I was running away from my own fear." Silence filled the park. Michael slowly lowered his head. For 7 years, he had replayed that wedding day thousands of times. He imagined she had fallen out of love, met someone else, changed her mind. Never once had he imagined that she had been fighting a battle inside herself. He whispered, "You should have told me." Emily closed her eyes. "I know. I was ashamed. I thought you'd think I was broken." Michael looked at her.
"We're all broken, Emily. That's why we need grace." Tears flowed freely from both of them now. Emily looked toward the lake. "I've asked God to forgive me every single day. But I could never forgive myself." Michael's voice became almost a whisper.
"I forgave you a long time ago." She looked at him, completely stunned. "You did?" "I had to. Because if I didn't, the pain would have owned my life forever." Emily covered her face with both hands. "I don't deserve that." Michael gently shook his head. "None of us deserve grace. That's why it's called grace." The weeks turned into months. Slowly, friendship returned. They visited Emily's mother together, served meals at church again, volunteered at the community shelter. Sometimes, they simply sat on the porch drinking coffee while watching the sunset. Neither of them rushed anything. Neither of them spoke about the future. They simply learned how to trust again. One evening, Pastor Samuel found them sitting beneath the old oak tree. He smiled. "I've been praying for this day." Emily looked at him. "I'm still afraid." The pastor nodded. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to walk forward, even when fear is holding your hand." Michael quietly reached over and took Emily's hand. This time, she didn't pull away. She held on tightly. As the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon, Emily realized something. For the first time in 7 years, she wasn't thinking about the wedding she had destroyed. She was thinking about the life they still might build. And for the first time, hope felt stronger than fear. End of chapter 5. Chapter 6. The walk they were always meant to. Take autumn arrived quietly. The leaves beneath the old oak tree had turned shades of gold and crimson. Life felt peaceful again, not because the past had disappeared, but because neither of them was allowing it to control the future anymore. One Saturday morning, Michael knocked on Emily's front door. She opened it with a smile. "You look mysterious," he laughed. "I have somewhere I'd like to take you. Should I be worried?" "Not at all." She grabbed her coat. "I trust you," Michael smiled. Those 3 words stayed with him during the entire drive. Nearly 20 minutes later, the car slowly came to a stop. Emily looked out the window. Her heart immediately recognized the place. The little white church. The same church. The same doors. The same stained glass windows. The same steps. She stopped breathing. Her hands began trembling. Michael noticed immediately. "It's okay," she whispered. "I don't think I can." Michael gently reached for her hand. "You don't have to." She looked at him. "Confused, aren't we?" He smiled softly. "No." He pointed toward a quiet country road beside the church. 7 years ago, I waited for you inside that church." Emily lowered her eyes. Tears immediately filled them. Michael continued. "But today, I'm not asking you to walk toward a building. I'm asking you to walk beside me." He extended his hand. "No pressure. No promises you have to make today. No audience. No expectations. Just one step at a time." Emily looked at his hand, the same hand she had once promised never to let go. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. They began walking together along the quiet country road. Neither of them hurried. The afternoon sun filtered gently through the trees. A cool breeze carried the scent of autumn leaves. For several minutes, they simply walked. Side by side, Michael finally broke the silence. "You know, I used to wonder why God allowed that day to happen." Emily looked at him. "And now?" He smiled. "Now I think he wasn't preparing us for a wedding. He was preparing us for a marriage." Emily stopped walking. She looked at him, completely overwhelmed. "I don't deserve someone like you." Michael gently shook his head. "And I don't deserve the grace God has given me. None of us earn love. We choose it, every single day." Emily's tears flowed freely. "I spent 7 years believing I had destroyed every chance we had." Michael stepped closer. "You didn't destroy it. It simply had to grow." He gently lifted her chin. "So did we." She smiled through tears. "I've spent my whole life running from pain, running from fear, running from myself." She took a deep breath, then whispered the words she had carried in her heart for years. "I'm done running." Michael smiled, the same warm smile that had first captured her heart beneath the old oak tree. Then, "Let's keep walking." They continued down the quiet road together, not toward a church, not toward another ceremony, but toward a future they would choose. One day at a time, as they reached the top of a small hill, the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon. Michael stopped, reached into his jacket pocket. Emily looked at him and laughed through her tears. "You've got to be kidding," he smiled. "I've been carrying this for months." He opened a small wooden box. Inside was the very same engagement ring, the one she had never worn after that day. "I don't want to ask you to marry me again." Emily looked surprised. "I want to ask you something much more important." He gently held both of her hands. "Will you keep choosing me? One ordinary day at a time?" Emily couldn't speak. She simply nodded, then wrapped her arms around him, holding him tighter than she ever had before. "I will. For the rest of my life." Months later, the little church welcomed family and close friends once again. This time, there were no grand decorations, no expensive flowers, no elaborate celebration, only the people who loved them most. Pastor Samuel stood at the front with tears in his eyes. He smiled before speaking. 7 years ago, a wedding was postponed. But today, we celebrate something far more beautiful. 2 hearts, completely surrendered to God's grace. Michael looked into Emily's eyes. She wasn't afraid anymore. "When?" Pastor Samuel asked. Who gives this woman to be married? Emily smiled gently. She answered before anyone else could. God did. The church laughed softly. Even Pastor Samuel wiped away a tear. Moments later, Michael and Emily exchanged their vows. Simple, honest, real. No promises of a perfect life, only promises to keep choosing each other. Every single day, as they walked out of the church, hand in hand, friends and family applauded, children threw flower petals across the path, the church bells rang joyfully. Emily looked at Michael. You know something? What? This time, I wasn't afraid. Michael kissed her forehead. Because this time, you finally knew. You were never walking alone. They smiled, and together, they walked toward the future, not because life would be perfect, but because they had learned that real love isn't built on perfection. It's built on forgiveness, on grace, on faith, and on choosing each other again and again and again. The end.